All right. Hey, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, love, salutations, and blessings to the house of David, which is the elect. All right. Coming back again, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi with another Sabbath Sanctuary episode. Right. This is episode 38, entitled The House of Cards Won't Stand Forever. Okay, and Babylon the Great is that house of cards, right? Esau's kingdom, right, which is, as the scripture says, the Lord set Esau, right, or the wicked, which we know the wicked is Esau, Edom, right, and their rulership and their way that they rule, right, is all adverse to the righteous order of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And the scripture says that He has set them on this slippery places. Okay, and that is based off of right the fact that the way that they rule in their mindset, all right, and just the confusion, right, of this place is not sustainable. All right, and you see how when you look at certain current events and things taking place, how they're always at a sense of there's some type of disorder, right? There's some type of disarray, right? Speaking, just off of the top of the thought, the whole thing with the government shutdown, right? We were speaking about it earlier, and how they were saying that they potentially are going to be able to reopen it, but then at the same time, you have certain Democrats, congressmen that are saying that they are going to delay the process as long as possible. I think Rand Paul was one of them. You had Bernie Sanders come out and say this was a terrible, terrible vote. So you have the infighting between the Republicans and the Democrats, right? But then even between them, in between the Democrats party, you got infighting, right? And then between the Republican Party, you got infighting. And as the Lord said in the book of Mark, let me pull that up real quick. Mark, the third chapter, Yahweh Shai spoke about a house being divided. Okay. And Esau, right, is a house, right? The house of Edom. I believe in the book of Obadiah, it speaks about, the house of Joseph should be a fire, and the house of Jacob a flame, and the house of Esau, yeah, you got that. The house of Esau for stubble, yeah, brother, we all one mind, brother. So, but Yahweh Shai said that a house divided cannot stand. So let me get that real quick. I'll pass it. This is the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse. Um, what? I just had it. Oh, so like verse 23 says Yahweh Shai then, and I'm reading this in the NLT. It says Yahweh Shai called them and responded with an illustration. How can Satan cast out Satan? He asked. A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. Similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. If Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He would never survive. All right. And the scripture speaks about how the wicked, right, comes to do the working of Satan. So we know the energy, right, in the spirit that Esau comes in, right? And therefore, we seen, his officials, right, his kings, his princes, his nobles, right? They are at odds, right? Your government officials, the people that you look to have have order, right? You look for the people that you look to have these policies to make things run smoothly. They can't even, get on the same page, right? They are, having bickering and fighting and just looking like a whole, clown show, right, on the public, on the public scale, then that goes to show you that this house is not going to survive. It's not sustainable, right? And this is why the scriptures, speaks about how Yahweh Shai, said that he saw Satan falling as lightning from heaven. Okay, the prophecies of, Babylon falling, not being healed. It's all because the way that is being ruled, you see that it's not a house that is strong, right? The Lord said He is He is rebuilding the tabernacles of David, closing the breaches thereof. But at the same time, the we're seeing the wicked there falling apart, right? That brother put, have you no decency, right? and that's hey, that goes to show, right? Like I said, right on TV, right in front of everybody. That's how they are conducting themselves. So you can only imagine what's happening behind closed doors, right? And how bad it gets. But y'all got
Got it. Yeah, Khan. That's the spirit. Because as you were speaking, Zaquan, I actually I had pulled up Obadiah because I have this book here, which pretty much comprises all the scriptures, and each and every chapter it kind of gives you a quick rundown of what the chapter is about. And if you don't mind, I could just read that real quick, and then I'll get a word that describes exactly the state that we're in right now in Babylon the Great. All right. So when you go to the book of Obadiah, right here it says, um, the prophet Obadiah thundered fiercely against Edom, a neighboring tribe long hostile to the Hebrews, saying that God had sent a member or a messenger to stir up a widespread rising against her. Okay, so typically, and we always talk about this, how the Lord always he finds occasion to come against somebody or a people. Okay, he'll always set up some type of controversy, or he'll stir up spirits. All right, so that way he's justified in bringing down that judgment. Okay, so it says here, the occasion was apparently an invasion of the land by Arab tribes. It says Edom's ruin was to be accomplished by the treachery of her former allies. This punishment was God's judgment for Edom's unbrotherly conduct toward Judah at the time of dire calamity, the sack of Jerusalem by Babylon. All right, and that's what the prophet Jeremiah was also going into. All right, I know the brother Bakar is going into that, or was going into that. All right, the book of Jeremiah. Okay, it says the judgment of God was to come to all nations, right? And Edom would share in the destruction. And that judgment is coming for all nations indeed, including the nation of Israel. Okay, you have the 2/3 of our people that the Lord has beef with. Okay, that he's going to bring that judgment, all right, who are here in America, Babylon the Great, that's going to partake in that destruction of America, Babylon the Great. Okay, so those people who are in the nation of Israel, they're not exempt, all right, from that destruction that's coming from the Heavenly Father. Okay, it says, but the house of Jacob, Judah, restored and reunited with the other Hebrew tribes, so the 12 tribes, which is something the small hats, the tiny hats can't even say right now, right? Because they're not the fulfillment of the prophecies in regards to the children of Israel. Okay, when you read throughout the whole entire scriptures, the Lord is only dealing with the house of Israel. That's where he made that. That's the nation that he made a covenant with. Okay, it never turned over the years, all right, to become the Jewish state or the Jewish nation, or that's a made up fraudulent scheme that was made up by the Zionists. All right, that's it. But when you talk about prophecy, it's only dealing with the house of Israel, which consists of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. All right. So it says all the ancient territory of the Hebrews would be reunited to them. All right. So we're going to get our lands back. We're going to get all our property back. Okay. The Lord is going to renew the earth for our sakes again. All right. It says, and Savior shall come up on Mount Zion, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. Right. Ultimately, when YAHAWASHI brings his kingdom here on earth. Okay. As the disciples were asking him 2,000 plus years ago. All right. And then he gave us those signs that we're seeing today. Okay. In the year 2025, we're seeing all these signs playing out, man. All right. But the key word I want to highlight, all right, that the Zaquan was mentioned was, two words is destabilization and instability. Okay. Because right now, what you're seeing with all these different things going on with one side of the house saying one thing, then another saying another thing, and you have this jostling of trying to get position on another, right, back and forth. You just had the mayoral voting that happened until last week, right, and a lot of states that were Republicans are now switching over to Democrats. So that's also creating a friction right there. And then once this guy, the mayor of New York, got voted in, all of a sudden you get this rhetoric of the Islamic believers who are now coming out in droves and claiming stake in New York, and it's not gonna just end there. All right, it's something that's going to permeate throughout the other states as well. Okay, so you have that to worry about, and then you have the food insecurities. All right, this whole SNAP benefit thing, a lot of people are depending on it. All right, and of course you heard news that the government is going to be reopened, or was it yesterday they were saying that, right? But here today it's still kind of like up in air because you still have, like Zaquan was saying, you have one senator, was it not a senator, one of the oh, what's his name, Rand Paul? I forget his position. All right, what office he holds per se, but he is one of the people who are stopping the so-called government from reopening again fully. All right, so you still have that instability going on. You have the back and forth, the House divided against itself. Okay, and it's not going to stand. No matter what Trump is telling you, no matter how much he's saying that he's going to send people $2,000, per citizen or whatever, how much money is that going to be? It's probably going to be in the trillions, if not the billions, right? So you look at that as well as like, how is that going to affect the economy? There's so many different things that are at play here, and that people have to actually consider. All right, don't worry about the smoke screen. Don't worry about the things that they're saying on your TVs or giving speeches to tell you these things. That's it. That's all it is. But really worry about what's going to come after this. All right, because remember, the true action is in the reaction. So that's what we always paying attention to. We're not looking at, oh, there's a problem here, and that's it. Nah, the actual thing that we're looking forward to is the solution to those problems. That's where it all boils down to. All right. When you go into the word instability, it says lack of stability. Man, I hate when they do that shit. All right. It says the state of being unstable. That's not good enough. It says here, I like this right here. It says tendency to unpredictable behavior or erratic changes of mood. Okay. Tendency to unpredictable behavior or erratic changes of mood. And who's at the forefront of that? DJ Trump. All right. He feels something. He talks about it. It's done. Oh, you know what? We're gonna put sanctions on Russia. Boom, it's done. Today I just woke up. I feel like we should put tariffs on China. 100% tariffs. Let's do it. Oh, we're gonna just go to the cities and just start arresting people. Oh, the Supreme Court. We will deal with that later. Let's do what we got to do now, right? So it's all this instability shit. One day he says, "Oh, we're gonna reopen things. We're gonna be back to normal. Everything is gonna be booming again." The very next hour, he turns around and says, "Oh, let's put a pause. Supreme Court just said something real mean to me. I'm not happy about it. So now we're taking everything back that we said." Right? How can a president rule like that? You see? So now you've caused this spirit of instability within the minds of the people that, at any point, this guy could do anything that's going to F us all up. Right? So that causes this feeling of anxiety amongst people who are not in the know of what's actually going on. Right? And that's majority of the American people. Okay, so just that alone, you got destabilization, which Zaquan mentioned earlier, and then you have what? Instability. And that's all being caused and stirred up by YAHAWASHI. He has to come up with that occasion to make, the judgments come down this way. Okay, so you put all these things together, all right, it goes to show you that, we've been saying 2026, we're seeing all the signs. We talk about Jacob's trouble. We're seeing all the signs. And all the apostles or majority of prophets, they all mentioned that this is likened onto a woman in travail, meaning you have the contractions, you have the pains, and it kind of like, oh, it's almost relieving itself. We're back to normal. Then something else comes in. And then always like something new. And the closer you get to the deliverance, right, the more painful it is. Okay. And then the previous things that happened that you think you had relief from, the other thing that comes in makes it worse. You see, so really there is no relief. All right. It's just an illusion of relief. And that's what you would like to get, right? Just an illusion of it. But the reality is all pain and suffering. Like the Lord says, these are the beginning of sorrows. All right. But your brothers got it.
Got a precept. This is Job chapter 20, verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? And so, dealing with the house of cards, right? We all know the as a matter of fact, the reason House of Cards became a figure of speech was because of the nature of a house of cards. It doesn't stand forever. Okay, the slightest thing, in fact, even wind, can cause it to fall. So you wouldn't bet your life on a house of cards standing on for, for whatever the stakes may be. And that's what this place is. And it is that way because we've already seen, right, via the way of the scriptures, what the outcome of this place is. And like brothers were talking about concerning the current events that have been taking place, it's always important to look beyond, right, what you currently see in front of you, because with every action or event that takes place, there's how the people react to it, but there's also a psychological meaning behind what's actually going on. And usually that's the part that goes over people's heads. So, for example, you know, you have this whole government shutdown. Now, if they do reopen it, you're going to have people that are going to be, oh, yeah, we're going to get our stuff back. Hey, you know, it was 40 days. It was really bad. But, you know, thank God it's open again. I guess it didn't continue to be as bad as we thought. But here's something key that you missed. If you paid attention to the whole energy that your president had during this whole entire thing, his mindset was, we're not backing down. We're going to do this for however long it takes till we get what we want. By him getting what he wants, because the Democrats, some of them basically like gave in to come up with a deal that can reopen this government, that's already showing you that the next time a deadlock like this happens again, they've already set a precedent that they're not backing down. It's going to be either the Democratic side or it's going to be no side. Number two, he showed you that he doesn't care, because the whole rhetoric of like, oh, innocent people starving and, you know, they're going to go without food for millions. He hears all that. And then he's at a football game getting booed, but he's here telling you, look, I don't care if the joint opens back up. Like, if we say there's no SNAP benefits, there's no SNAP benefits. So that's what you got to keep in mind, that, damn, this guy just showed a glimpse of like how cruel, you know, he can actually be. And so given the right occasion where there is no need to stop the cruelty, he seems like the guy to go full force with it. That's the part that goes over people's heads, is that they focus so much on the event. They don't see the deeper danger behind it, that you now have a president in office who doesn't care if you starve, right? He doesn't care, because if he says this is the policy in the name of nationalism, that's exactly what he's going to do. And he's going to take it as far as his cruel mind will let him. And that's all the doing of YAHAWASHI. But going back to Job 20:6, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach onto the clouds. So in essence, regardless of how high, you know, in the sense of an actual individual or in the sense of a nation or an empire, regardless of how glorious or how high or how powerful they may seem to be, yet, as it says, shall he perish forever like his own dung, right? Because when you excrete waste from your body, that's it. You know, it gets either used as manure or it just goes into the sewer somewhere, never to be seen again, right? They which have seen him shall say, where is he? And it's interesting, because even when you look at ancient empires like the Egyptian empire, during that time of like, say, when Joseph was on the scene, you couldn't imagine that the people that formed that empire would be in Africa in huts and in remote areas using hyenas as lapdogs. You know, you wouldn't be able to imagine that. You think like, how? It's the same way people can't imagine this empire today and the people ruling it being in pits and chains according to biblical prophecy, right? But guess what? Today, if you ask people who are the Egyptians, they'll point to Ishmaelites, you know, or Elamite-looking people over there. A lot of people don't even know who the original true Egyptians are or what they actually look like, right? So just as great as that empire was, where you couldn't forget it, now people can't even remember it. And that's how it's going to be when this house of cards falls, because it's been built real high, but it's not on a solid foundation. And they're going to come with their last hoorah as they use this final push with the AI, you know, and everything. And I mean, everything is being integrated with artificial intelligence, going into the MTA, going into your buses. Everything has an AI twist to it. And I remember when we first, I got you, bro. When we first started talking about this, we were like, how, yo, this thing is moving quick. It's moving quick. It's moving quick. It's getting harder to remember a time when AI wasn't as prevalent. Like, you think back to like certain things that have AI in it today, you forgot that at one point that wasn't the case, because it's literally everywhere now, and it's going to advance more and more. I saw a trailer. I forgot, you know, if a brother shared it, but it was a trailer. I think it was called Mercy, but it was basically an artificial intelligence system, like a judicial kind of system that would determine whether you die or not based on, like, they'll put you in a seat, they'll put you before it, and then it will ask you certain questions, and based on how you answer it, it'll determine if you're guilty or not. Now imagine trying to have a judge without the actual human emotions of compassion, of fear, of any of those things, and using that to determine whether somebody should live or die. But that's exactly where they're taking it. what's this guy, RFK? He mentioned that for the health situation, they basically use AI for that. I think even one of the military like leaders in there mentioned that they use AI for some of their calculations or to determine whether they should do X, Y, or Z. So it's already integrated in those things. And soon, once they fully usher that beast out to everybody, you know, that beast of a system out to everybody, you'll see that, hey, you know, this is something inescapable. And it's gonna make the house of cards look like a solid foundation. But when Yahawashi comes through, that with that mighty wind, right, as the scriptures mentioned, the world will realize yet again that it's only but a house of cards. But yeah, you got it, bro.
Yeah, Khan, I was going to say that when you mentioned about how they're using, bringing in basically technology for everything, I just remembered how Trump, I think it was today, he wrote on Truth Social. It might have been in the chat or somewhere else that I saw it, but basically, YAHAWASHI is right here. But he was basically telling all the air traffic controllers to get back to work. And he said that he's going to give those who stayed on the job without getting paid, he's going to give them about, 10 bands for, you know, holding on and stuff. And then those who didn't, you know, stay to work, they're calling out sick and all that. He said something to the effect of they were not being patriots. And that basically in the very near future, you could kick rocks if you want, and you're not going to get no severance package or nothing. Right. So another sign of a cruel Lord. Now, here's a key part that I saw that I was like, that's very interesting. He said here, check this out. He said, in full, shortly, okay, no, it says, I'm not happy with you, those people who complain that didn't work. He says, you didn't step up to help the USA against the fake Democratic attack, right? Our Democrat attack that was only meant to hurt our country. You will have a negative mark. So he's already put it out there that the country is hurt, right? As it tells you that we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. So she is hurt, okay? And he's adding on to it to say that, oh, we're trying to do everything in our power to fix her. He's also confirming that she is indeed hurt. That's the prophecies right there, okay? So continue, it says, if you want to leave, he says, you will have a negative mark, at least in my mind, against your record. If you want to leave service in the near future, please do not hesitate to do so with no payment or severance of any kind. Okay. It says you will be quickly replaced by true patriots who will do a better job on the brand. This is the key. It says on the brand new state of the art equipment. What is that talking about? That's the incorporation or the emerging of AI into everything that you call government or federal related activities. So now he's letting you know when it comes to healthcare, we're bringing AI in there. We're not signing all these billions of dollars with Pfizer and telling you that you could get Ozempic for $50 instead of $1,300 and having RFK doing all these. Oh, soon all Americans are going to be wearing wearables to attract their health. They're not telling you all these things now just for nothing. This is all part of the big, beautiful bill. This is all part of these executive orders that he's signing in, because executive orders during the time of wartime that we're in now, because he's a wartime president, whether people know it or not. Okay, all these things become pretty much law under what is known as martial rule. Not martial law yet, but martial rule. Okay, or the courts, the police, all these people are all working with the president because he's known as the what's it called? The commander in chief. That's a war term. Okay, so they're letting you know exactly what time it is, man. And who are the enemies since 1933? The American people. Okay, that's why you're getting this word domestic. Okay, so it says here, it says it says who will do a better job on the brand new state of the art equipment, the best in the world that we are in the process of ordering. Okay, it says the last administration wasted billions of dollars trying to fix antiquated junk. In other words, the old system is all a mess. We got to change it. We got to fix it. We got to clean it up. And this right here that's going on, this so-called crisis, is a perfect opportunity to fix that mess. That's what he's telling you. Okay. It says here, they had no idea what they were doing. Again, to our great American patriots, God bless you, blah, 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 blah. Right. So just by reading that, I said, yo, he just said a whole lot. But how did not people jump on this? Because he's letting the American people know once again that, look, you've been tricked. All right. We did all this to soften you up, number one, because now you worried about your next paycheck. Meanwhile, we got all these things happening. Like I mentioned the other day, if we're in a government shutdown, why are we still paying taxes? The government shut down, right? But the parts that is supposed to be giving the funds to the people, that part was shut down. But you still got to pay bills, right? All these different things that requires you to shed money, that was still going on perfectly fine, right? The part where you lose money, that's working. But the part where you gain, yeah, for some reason that's not working. And that's all part of the plan. It's all done by design, baby. All right? All done by design. Okay, and they're bringing it step by step. We call it the accelerated gradualism. All this stuff is all part of the plan. Okay, and it'll make more sense in the next coming weeks or months. It's going to make more sense for people to see these things. All right, but I want to add that in there. He mentions the state of the art and all these different things. Antiquated junk is what he called it. So people calling out sick and all that because they're not getting paid. That's part of antiquated junk because people can actually do that. When the new system pops in, you're not going to be able to call out sick. You can't do that, right? You can't do that because guess what? There's no need for you anymore. You call out sick, you lose your job. Simple as that. Okay, and it's not like you can just go find another job and go. Look at people going on interviews and putting applications in, and they're not getting no jobs, bro. Jobs are hard to come by. People getting laid off by the millions. They say unemployment is at 4%. Man, really? Really? All right, you got it, bro.
God, I just wanted to add to what you were just saying. As far as what he talked about, the new state of the art equipment. I remember back in July when I had went away and I had told y'all about the process at that airport. That airport had, no lie, only about, like, I would say 3 to no more than 10 TSA people in the whole entire airport. And it was empty, meaning the process to go through, it wasn't like in Newark where you had these long lines because everything was digital. So you didn't need to actually deal with the actual a person because the system itself verified who you were. So all you had to do was have your ID scanned, right? You put your ID where they had your passport. It would scan your passport and it would tell you to look at this camera. And then the camera would basically take your biometrics and scan your biometrics to see if it matches your passport. And then you will get the green light to go forward. And based off of that, the people that were there, the TSA people that were there, they were only there to make sure that the actual system was operating. So even like when you look at in Amazon, right, where Amazon is firing so many people, it's because they don't actually need all these hands. They only need people that can be managers of the actual AI system. And when he said this about the new state of the art, I'm like, and he says we're in the process of ordering it. When I came back from out of the country, I think I told y'all too. When you was in customs, there was an area in the customs that they had blocked off, and they had the machines covered, so you couldn't. So it was behind something, and it was covered, so you couldn't really see what it was. But because of what I saw in the other airport, I'm like, that's it. That's what they got. So they're not in the process of ordering. They already had it. It's already there, and they're using this opportunity right now to, that's why he said about the air traffic controllers, the TSA people, because a lot of TSA is Jake. When you go to Newark Airport, you go to JFK, a lot of those people are Jake that are doing the TSA job. So they're going to tell them, you know what, and you had Jake calling out, or a lot of TSA people, because it was Jake that was calling out. I'm not going to work. I'm not getting paid shit. I'm calling out. Probably calling up before, you calling out today too? Yeah, let's call out today. They were definitely doing that because you weren't getting paid. So when he talks about those that didn't come back, this whole thing was really a preemptive way to find out who isn't a quote unquote true patriot, aka Jake. We gonna fire you. Because we don't need you. We actually don't need this many TSA members, people working, because we have this whole new state of art technology that can do the verification on its own. And we just need maybe about 5 to 6 people working at the airport just to make sure that the actual system runs and is on properly, and then everybody else we can get rid of. So this is, and remember, he talked about in his first term, the entry exit visa tracking system, right? He didn't do that his first term, but you see the immigration thing going on, you see the voter ID ballot, all of that is leading into digital identification, right? When he went to UK, they signed that technology deal. And then one of the things he told them was like, yo, yeah, y'all gotta get on how we get in when it comes with the immigration. But then it's interesting after he says that, they over here make that announcement about the digital ID, right? And in that technology deal, I didn't go too much into it, but they basically, we already know based off of scriptures how, the UK is like tethered to America. So it's like whatever they do, America does. Whatever America does, UK does. So what you're about to see with this whole technology that he's talking about, because you have these ground stoppage. I think I just put it in our group chat that they put a ground stoppage at LaGuardia, right? They had certain other instances happening at these other airports where they're having wings clip each other. So much, like so many things, to where they're probably trying to, and I speak as a man, but spiritually, they're going to close down these airports for a little bit, and then they're going to implement these, systems, and then they're going to bring it back and say, okay, you know what? Those TSA people that weren't true patriots, you're fired. We don't need you. You can come back. The ones that were, and we have the system. So now you're not going to have to deal with, those long lines anymore. All you have to do now is just, acquiesce to the digital identification system process. And people are going to do that because, especially now, when they say with the holiday season is when people travel the most, you have a lot of people that's dealing with the problems of delays and cancellations. They're not going to want to continue to deal with that. So they deal with they see what is happening now, and then those that are not even traveling, but they're hearing about it, they don't want to travel. They're like, man, I don't want to even go to nowhere because I'm seeing all this. I'm seeing these people having these problems, 3-hour wait, and all. I'm not traveling. So then when they bring it back open and they start seeing, oh, these things are moving fast, everything is quick, they were like, okay, well, look, I'll go travel. But then when you go there, this is what you got to do. And who's not going to do that? Who is who in their right mind? Because that's how Esau does it, right? He lays this trap, he lays this snare, and it seems convenient. And then that is exactly what people are going to, do, because they want the convenience. They don't want to deal with all of the problems of, being in a line and having to deal with the cancellation and all these things. And that's how the devil is laying the paeo, right? The cause it, the framing and constructing. He's laying all this out because people don't see the bigger picture of what this really goes to. So I just want to throw that in there. Oh, Salaki, my bad. One last thing I want to say about it is that also when it came to the whole what they already have in these other countries, because I went to an island, so it was a small country, but it's easier to implement that there because they're already poor, right? That country's already poor because Esau took the resources. But if you have these companies, right, that are getting backed by these technocratic organizations, say we have this technology, we want to use your airport as a pilot program for this. It's not going to cost you anything, and we're just going to, because they had a hurricane. That's what happened. They had a really bad hurricane back in 2020, and I know how how Ron goes into the weather manipulation. So they had a really bad hurricane, and that hurricane destroyed their international airport. And when they brought it back, so the international airport was like inoperable for about like a year. I think they said a year to like 18 months. So when they brought it back, they had a bunch of investments from China, Chinese investments, and all these people that came there and introduced this technology there. And they reopened it, and it was like, yeah, it's great now. It's so much, smoother. We never have any traffic. We never have any long lines, X, Y, and Z. So why not do, like, this is working here? Why not do it? And then I believe that they do that. They use those places to see how it works, see how the system work, and then that's why Trump can say now we already have this process in order because we already seen how this actually plays out on a large scale. So that's it.
Yeah, Khan. Hey, Shalom Akim. YAHAWASHI Yahshua Barakatham. I want to make a quick point in reference to what you just mentioned, Zaquan, about the airports, because interestingly enough, JFK right now, which is one of the biggest airports in the tri-state, okay, or in the country, really, all right, and has the most amounts of traffic. They're doing a multi-billion-dollar renovation right now, which the major parts of it are slated to be completed in 2026, which is why it's been hell to drive back and forth from going in the airport. Like, you better off just taking the air tram from Jamaica to even get there because the traffic is so fucked up. But that is all right in line and in time for, you know, that 2026 timeline. And obviously they're going to have, and even when you go to JFK now, they have a lot of what you were talking about. You know, you just scan the passport, and you know that biometric visa tracking system is something that they clearly, under Trump's first administration, they wanted to. They started hovering the idea around, and now they have all the cards set up, AI, everything that they needed in the first term to really get it done. They have it now. You see, so there's nothing holding it back from going down. Okay, and one thing that was coming to mind as you was breaking it down with everything, all the information through the spirit and power, YAHAWASHI is being laid out. How can certain camps not see it? How can certain camp leaders not see what is actually going on? And I have a precept that pretty much sums that up. This is Isaiah 56:10 in the NLT. For the leaders of my people, the Lord's watchmen, his shepherds are blind and ignorant. They are like silent watchdogs. Yeah, the scripture calls them dumb dogs, right? In the KJV, they are like silent watchdogs that give no warning when danger comes. They love to lie around sleeping and dreaming. You see? And that's exactly what these various camp heads, ISUPK, IUIC, other insert fake, you know, fraudulent Israelite camp here, okay? And they have not been ringing the you know, blowing the trumpet and ringing the alarm on what's going on. All right, as the brothers have been going in, all right, and meticulously breaking down all of the ways. And this is just one aspect. There's so many other ways of how this is being implemented. One thing is the airports, and you know, women love to travel. A lot of how they're going to push the MOTB is by the way of women, because women want to travel. That's considered a sign of living a life in America. People be traveling all over the place, you know, and the airport is a huge part of commerce. Remember, when they wanted to make things happen back in 2001, they used September 11th, which was something involving airplanes and airports in order to further that agenda, because that's like a choke point, you know, like what's the word I'm looking for? Like a bottleneck, you know, like basically this is where all these people are going to come through these airports. So if you want to still be able to travel and do your thing in this Edomite's world, all right, in this so-called white man's world, you're going to have to get down with their system, and you're going to have to receive that charagma, all right, that device, that implantable device. You're going to have to get it, okay? And people want to be popping. They want to be on social media, traveling to Maldives, traveling to this place. Oh, I went to the Caribbean. Oh, I'm in Florida. Oh, I'm here now. That's how people try to show off. And a lot of it is going to be from women, and men, they're going to try to do what pleases women. So when they say that you can't, like Zaquan said, you can't travel no more. All right, they cut them, which is happening now, little by little. They're trickling it. Whether the government shutdown is over with or not, the thing is that this man is in office for another three and change years, and they already had the longest shutdown in history in his first year. This is not going to go away. They just easing it in and kind of getting people used to the concept. Now, the next shutdown, and this might not even be over yet, because the House still has to approve it, and this president has to sign off. But the next time this shit happens, if this, you know, if they so-called resolve it or whatever, a lot of damage has been done anyways. And the next time it happens is going to most likely be worse, because they can't come together. The two horns that spake as a lamb, but the two horns as a lamb, but spake as a dragon. You see? So they're at odds, all right, and that's all by design. But I'm gonna read a little more on this. Isaiah 56:11. Like greedy dogs, they are never satisfied. They are ignorant shepherds, all following their own path and intent on personal gain. You see, Nate got his Long Island mansion. He thinks he's good. That's like the parable that YAHAWASHI said, that the man who had laid up many goods for himself, and he felt as though his position was set. He was sealed. You know, that's Isaiah 28. We had made a covenant with death when the overflowing scourge come through, that it's not going to touch us. I'm paraphrasing it. So they think that they're set, okay, because they have money and things. That the Lord don't give a fuck about that. The Lord don't give a damn about the material possessions that you have obtained in your life, man. All right. And the Lord gives and the Lord takes away, man. And a lot of times the Lord gave you things just to test you to see how you would move. And a lot of you men that you fake Israelite leaders that you have sold out, you got those things and your head became puffed up and you thought that you were more than what you were. And you forgot that the truth is the main important thing. All that extra bullshit is not necessary. If the Lord bless you up with some things, that's cool, but that's not what's important here. It's about the truth of the matter. And again, as the brother's been going into and explaining it detail by detail, how can you possibly not see it by now? The president of the United States said there's going to be a biometric visa tracking system. What more do you need to hear? Now you got AI. Now you got everything laid out to where it's clearly slapping you in the face of how obvious this is. So if you're not teaching it, then we'll have to come to the conclusion you sold out. All right. But the Lord is going to reveal all that in due time anyways. But hey, man, if it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck, right? But yeah, that's it. You brothers got it.
Hey, I was wanted to also mention how since the beginning of this year, we've seen a lot of these, and we've been mentioning it. A lot of our videos we've been doing, we go into these things where you're seeing this merging of big tech with the government. And previous presidents, it was harder for them to bring these things about openly. You know what I'm saying? Like they would do these small little deals and they will do these bailouts and all these different things. Fine, yeah. But now we're seeing a president actually signing deals and giving like power to these companies. And these companies are not just sitting around. It's not like a project where it's like, oh, you know, in the next 50 to 20 or 20 to 50 years, this is what we plan to do. No, this is stuff that they've had on the books. And these things that they're doing now in this year, 2025, is literally just making it concrete. Like, okay, we're now finally signing everything back into order to say that, okay, now we have the approval to start making these things come to play. Okay, you got this guy, something about OpenAI. I was reading about that earlier. And basically they said that the OpenAI has gotten, it says it's too big to fail, right? It's gotten so big that it's like, it's almost impossible for it to fail. And I'm like, well, OpenAI is directly in line with this whole biometric system that, you know, they're talking about, right? You got this, this orb thing that they scan your eyes, and then it's like, it could tell who you are and everywhere you go in the world and shit, they have that, right? Through Sam Altman's OpenAI company. Right. So he's behind all these things and he's big with Trump. Right. So you got these people in bed with the president, having dinner with the president and talking about how much they had a great conversation with the president. And none of them, if you really pay attention, none of them are really talking about the benefit of society or, you know, things that's going to actually help people right now. You notice since Trump came in, a lot of things that he's doing and saying sounds great to the people. Oh, yeah, you know, he's going to make this and this. But when you actually look at it, it's like, yo, when is this going to play out? Like, when is it going to actually benefit the people? You're saying all this good shit, but people are suffering. The reality is people are losing jobs. It's hard to get jobs. You're saying that this is the best economy has ever been. All right, the numbers are great. But what's the reflection of that? Like, where do we go to find all these good things that you're promising? Where does it come from? And it's just nothing but what promises. Okay, and that's all part of the Lord putting that spirit on these people to actually believe in this rhetoric. Okay, it tells you that in the book of Isaiah. Let me see if I can get that real quick. All right, and lately we've been bringing this out a lot because that's the times that we're in. Right, the book of Isaiah, chapter 19, and start from verse 1. It says, "The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord Yahawah rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it." Okay. And then when you jump down a little bit in verse 3, it says, "And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof." Right. So there's the spirit of despair. Okay. Going back to the main point that we started off with, which is the destabilization or instability. Right. Once you have people who are rattled like the past 40 days, listen, people are rattled. All right. And they're still rattled. Because though they've said that, oh yeah, things are going to be coming down the pipe, you know, we're going to be paying you surplus and all this extra. Yo, you still got bills that are piled up. You still got people that got their vehicles repoed that they still don't have access to right now. You still have people in the military that had to go to food banks to go get. This is all an embarrassment. You don't think people are going to be pissed off about that? You don't think people are going to actually start reacting to these things? They're not just going to sit around and say, okay, well, it's open now, so we all back to normal again. Nah. What are the side effects of that? What are the side effects of what happened over the past 40 days? Okay. So it says what? It says the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to wizards, right? So what's going to cause people to actually reside to that is the stress, as is written in the book of 2nd Ezra 15 about what? People going to be doing all these different things in terms of storming into other people's homes and, you know, taking their food and all these different things for what? For lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay. And these are all things that's designed to have that specific reaction. Okay. And if there's a design, that means that it had to come from somewhere. Like somebody thought about this. Okay. And where did the thought come from? The Heavenly Father put that spirit in these elites to come up with these plans. Okay. You go into the concept of what is known as the Malthusian theory. Okay. Which is from, I believe his name is Joseph Malthus. And he said every so many years or so, right, governments must come together to address what is known as the population problem. Okay, the population problem, the population problem, the population problem. What is that all about? Population problem basically is there's too many people on this earth. We need to depopulate so we can have a better form of control. Okay, so Malthusian theory goes into how they can affect the food system. How can we put restrictions on how many people can get food, where you can get food, where you can get the food from, and so on and so forth. They're going to use like we talked about last Saturday, the pledging system. All the stuff that Trump is talking about, the AI stuff that's coming in, is to reshape how people live their lives. Okay, put a limitation on amount of resources that people have access to. But in order for them to get to that point, what we're seeing now is the destructuring of what you've always known, right? If you got a 401k, you might want to start looking at how you can get that shit now. Because once the system is set up, you're not getting no 401k like you think you do. Oh, but I've been working my whole life and I've been saving up and all this, and now I can't get access to it. You're damn right you can't get access to it, because literally you don't have access to it. You're not what they call what's the word they used? Oh shit, authenticated. That's the word. If you're not authenticated, right? If you're not authenticated, you're not gonna get no access to the shit that you thought you had. You have people who are losing retirement. She said, oh, I thought by the time I retire, I'll be able to live my life and da-da-da-da-da-da. Now you have no money. You have nothing to do with that time that you have. So now you got people who are leaving retirement to go back to work so they can support themselves again. Okay? So all the promises, people saying it, like all the promises that they grew up on is all fake. It's all false. Okay? It's all fake, man. Okay? And that's all going into what? The spirit of Egypt failing. Because the spirit of Egypt is all about what? The prosperity of America, the so-called American dream. You seen all that shit being dissolved right now. Okay, Trump comes in and he's changing everything, man. Within what, a year? Within a year, shit, less than a year. Look what he's done. Okay, and it's only just this like basically set the groundwork. You want another 3 more years of this shit? All right, talking about yeah, Trump 2024 Trump for president. We told you, man. It's like people mocking themselves, bro. And this is the times that we've been waiting for, as it tells you in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. You get that, and I'm gonna pass it. All right. The book of Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3 says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, and that's the key. Okay. Though it seems like it's not happening and it just starts and then it stops and it stops. That's the tarrying part. Okay. That's where we have to be the most patient and stay on our watch, because you have people that literally just wait. They hear the hype and then they tune in when there's hype. But then the hype dies down and then they tune right back out like, oh yeah, y'all thought this, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this and I'm not going to listen to y'all no more. And then they just walk away. But guess what? We don't see us stopping and say, oh man, damn, we thought this was going to happen and it didn't happen, so now we giving up. No, because we understand the process of time. We understand what the Lord is doing. You see, we always think about it in the balance of like, yo, shit, if all hell was to break loose right now, how we wanted to break loose, like, how am I even going to cope with that? Am I even prepared for that? Like, am I even prepared for the first initial shock when it happens? Like, oh shit, is this really happening? When the bank runs happen, am I really ready for that? Like, do I have things set in stone that, you know what I'm saying, I could just hold on to and wait for the chaos to really kick in and then let the Lord do his thing? Am I ready for that? Most people don't think like that. You see? But we think like that. So we say, oh, wait, maybe the Lord is buying us a little bit more time. He's showing us the severity of, damn, 40 days and this will happen? Shit, okay, well, imagine 2 months of that. Imagine 6 months of that. Like, oh, shit, how would life be? So the Lord is setting us up ready for the times that we're about to enter into. All right, and it's all part of like the blinking, right? Before the light goes out, you get the flicker, and then eventually, boom, it goes out, right? These are the signs, okay? It says, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Okay, so now is the time where you can make any moves you got to make. You make it now, because once everything changes over, it's over with, man. You're not gonna get that freedom like you thought you did. That's why in Second Ezra it says, "Well, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Okay, because of all these different restrictions that you're gonna have, man. Quite literally, restrictions. Some people are not gonna be able to leave their homes in the name of safety. Just remember that. Okay, they've done it before, they're gonna do it again. And this time it's gonna be like, this is it. All right, and people are gonna know, man. You're gonna know. All right, you got it, bro.
Hey, Khan. Just had a quick update news. As I saw, it says Trump is considering the creation of a 15-year car loans in addition to the 50-year mortgage HUD director Bill Palute proposed. Now, that is that goes into the healing Babylon, right? And it goes also into the things that sound good, but really, what does that actually mean? And it really ties to the globalist elitist plans, because Trump came in as a nationalist and he's going against the deep state, and he is a man of the people. But when you hear about a 15-year car loan or a 50-year mortgage plan, right? And I was looking at something early today, because the 50-year mortgage plan thing that's been spoken about, a lot recently more. But the 15-year thing, I just seen that today. But when you look at the amount of interest that will be paid over that 50-year period, a $300,000 house, which the median income of a house right now, I think it's like 487 nationwide. But a $300,000 house at a 6% interest rate per year, right? Fixed interest rate over that 50-year plan, you would end up paying $950,000 for a $300,000 house. Now, on top of that, who's living 50 years after, through that, because they said that the average homeowner age now is like 37 years old. So back in our parents' time, right, the average age, I think they said was like 22, 23 when a person would first buy their house. Now it's like 15 years later. So the average homeowner, first time buyer, is 37. So if you're getting now a 50-year mortgage plan, that means you won't be done paying this off until you're 87. AKA, which is why it's called a mortgage, right? And we always go into that breakdown, meaning a debt pledge. And this goes back into what Klaus Schwab said. You'll own nothing and be happy. Because if you didn't finish paying off that house, guess what? You don't own it. So when you if the average, average death rate in America is 73 years old, you're literally going to be paying this mortgage until you die. And then even after you're dead, you're still not going to own it. So your family, you can't even pass that down to them. You're going to literally be passing down a debt to them. And then they enter into that debt, and they may not have, they probably won't have the means to be able to pay for this house. And then they're going to have to refinance it. And they're like, okay, well, we just add another 50 years onto this for you, make it cheaper. And this is the consistent way that they get the people to own nothing but, hey, I got a house, at least I have a house. And you see it now, that's why a lot of people, right? Majority of people, if this devil was to be able to go that far, majority of people won't own homes. It will only be a small percent of I would call them the poor class now, because it's not even a middle class. It will be only a small percent of the poor class that will be able to own a house, because most people are going to be dependent on the government. If not everybody is going to be dependent on the government for the actual full income, because they already have the process of, the universal basic income, where they said 80% of people, right? 80% of workers are going to, be on universal basic income. So that means that's only 20% of regular, workers, right, are not going to be on it. But those 20%, they're not going to be able to afford to, completely own anything. So nobody's going to own anything. You have a 15-year car loan. 15-year car loan. That's crazy. A car doesn't even last, especially these cars. Cars don't even last 15 years. So you're just in constant debt. And this is something that Esau, the powers of and Trump being the guy, he's presenting as an actual means of, giving people back the ability to own something in the art. Well, I can't even say you're owning it, but it's the facade of owning it, because you're not going to ever be able to own none of these things. You see? And this is, as it says in the book of Psalms 64, it says verse 5, they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? And this is a snare, man. This is an evil snare, because what you do is you get people to the point, right? You take everything away from them, and it's happening right in front of people's eyes, right? The homeowner, right? A homeowner numbers are going down, right? People are not buying cars no more because used cars cost so much. So everybody now leases cars. Everybody leases phones. You don't even own a phone. They got this thing where you can now finance food, right? Buy now, pay later for groceries. So you don't even own food. You got a thing where you can rent clothes. So they have these different programs, subscriptions, right? What was it? Movies, right? Before you can buy DVDs, now you can just go on Amazon and you rent it. You rent it for $19.99. And you have a 24-hour period to watch it. So if you want to go watch it, later, because that's what we used to do back in the day, you pop in the old say, I want to watch it on Friday. You can't even do that now. You got to go rent it again. So everything is nobody's owning anything, but they're having it look as if, hey, that's better for you. You have all these things at your fingertip, all these accesses at your fingertip right in your house, but you don't really own any of it. Getting this last part, it says, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. You see, because Esau, he's very meticulous in his wickedness, and the way that he is going to, the way scripture says that marvel not that Satan has transformed himself into an angel of light. That is a strong power that Satan has on the left-hand side that he gave to Esau to be able to use, to be a master of deception, to present death as life. And that's what people are going to do. And it's because ultimately they have not loved the truth. And I get this, and I'll pass it. 2 Thessalonians 2, verse 10. It says, I start at 9. This man will do the work of Satan with counterfeit power, signs, and miracles. What does the word counterfeit mean? Right? Made in the exact imitation of something valuable or important, with the intention to deceive or defraud. That is what he does. He presented life, right? It looks like it's beneficial, it's progressive, it's all these things, but the real purpose behind it is to deceive you. It's to actually take life from you, right? It's for you to go from the one who gives life, which is the YAHAWASHI. It says he will use every kind of deception. He's not gonna spare no expense, right? He's not gonna say, I got this deception over here, but I ain't gonna give him that. That's a little bit too crazy. No, he's gonna throw everything at you. That's why it says the Satan coming down with great wrath. A part of the wrath isn't, remember, a snake doesn't scream, he doesn't roar, right? A snake doesn't, announce his coming like a lion would do, right? Some certain lions could prowl, but beasts, you can hear them before you feel them. A snake, you're not going to hear him. You only going to know there's a snake there once your ass get bit. Once you see the snake, it's too late. So when he say he comes down with that wrath, a part of the wrath is his ability to trap you and to make you feel comfortable and make you feel like he's on your side. But at the same time, he is setting up a bunch of different snares and traps and you're looking at it like Stewie. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. That's what the simple minded is doing. Ooh, a piece of candy. You know, it says, so he will come with every kind of deception to fool those on their way to destruction because they refuse to love and accept the truth that would save them. And that's the long suffering and the compassion that the Lord has given via his men, the prophets, right? The laborers, right, that are consistently giving this message, consistently giving this warning, right? Loving not their lives unto the death in order to forewarn those that hear this gospel to be aware of this snake, of this serpent. And that's why when you get bit, as it says, who shall pity the charmer that is bit by the serpent? Especially when you're getting warned about it, you should already know not to fuck with the serpent. But on top of that, you got people yelling at you, telling you not to fuck with the serpent. So then when you get bit by it, hey, as Trump said, you knew I was a snake before you let me in. He told you that, right? It says, so the Most High will cause them to be greatly deceived, and they will believe these lies, right? They're going to believe the lies of this devil. And once again, it's going to look like it's beneficial. And it's because what? They didn't want to accept the truth, because the truth is bitter, right? The truth comes with a certain type of responsibility. It comes with patience, as the brother said before. It comes with long suffering. It comes with sacrifice. You know, the truth, especially in a world of lies, doesn't come with, oh, this is just an easy thing. You're literally going against the grain in this world when you accept the truth. So how do you think that's going to really affect your walk in this world? You can't be in this world, right, and be, and have a, so-called smooth and easy life, but at the same time, follow the truth, because the truth is going in the opposite way. That's friction right there. Okay, but the ones that are going to be greatly deceived, they're going to believe these lies, these counterfeit, power that this devil is coming with. So I got it.
Hey, Sean, shalom, the water, bro. Yeah, I had a shared screen on something I wanted to bring up in reference to something you had mentioned, and this shows right now how the average home buyer, the age year by year is getting higher and higher. The average first-time home buyer, and when you look at it, it says the average first-time home buyer is now 40 years old. So by them saying have a 50-year mortgage, they're saying you're going to be paying a mortgage till you're 90, which is absolutely ridiculous. And the thing about it is that a lot of people who are simple-minded are like, oh, well, I can just get into a house. But you're literally enslaving yourself to rent a house. You don't own the shit. It's just a fancy rent. Oh, they put your name on the title and you think, yeah, but you have like a 1% stake and the bank owns 99%. You might as well rent at that point and have peace of mind, because when shit breaks down, the bank doesn't pay for the house to be fixed. You have to pay it. So you're just going to be their little slave in the house to take care and maintain it. I mean, yeah, you can live there, but what's the difference between that and renting?
Especially and on top of that, the property taxes.
Yeah. And the property taxes. That's a whole nother ball of fucking confusion and wickedness. But this is what happens when the small hat runs the earth, man. This is the most greedy. That's why the scriptures talks about Esau. I'm gonna bring it out, and I got something else too. Hebrews 12 and 16. Okay, that's how the scriptures describe the man that rules the world right now. Hebrews 12 and 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. You see, he sold his birthright. So this is the profane man that we have ruling the world, and he's a greedy bastard. Okay, he's a greedy bastard. What is a bastard? Somebody who doesn't have, who is without a father. Okay, so this man, it just cannot have enough. He already has world domination. They have so much money, they can do anything. They're building these big AI, but it's not enough for them. They have to completely, utterly annihilate the lower class, man. Okay, the middle and the lower class, to where it's going to be no middle class. It's going to be a lower class. All right, lower class, or you're in the upper class. And the way the amortization schedule works on a mortgage, the majority of the interest, they charge it to you up front. They don't wait till you 30 years in to start charging you interest. They charge you more interest in the beginning of the loan when you first get it than towards the end. Then at the end, they start letting you pay more towards the principal. But the interest is being taken out. So basically, you're going to be paying a ridiculous amount of interest right out the gate. And the amount of your payment that's going to go towards chipping away at the principal is going to be astronomically low on a 50-year mortgage. And the YAHAWASHI, we don't even have that long in this kingdom. We have way less time than that, especially based off us measuring the time diligently. All right, but it ain't gonna be no damn 50 years, okay? Because this place is already clearly imploding in on itself, okay? And a 15-year car loan, like you said, it just the car, they have a 10-year, 100,000 mile warranty. That's because that's about what you would expect. You know, around 10 years, 100,000, a lot of shit is going to go wrong with the car. Ain't no car that's going to run for 50. Very rarely will a car run that long, okay? Especially if you're driving it frequently. All right, but this is all a setup because, again, you will own nothing and be happy, okay? And this is what we're seeing. And next year is going to be a higher age. It's going to be 40, 42. And what it says there, when you look at it, it says that it's more women that are able to buy houses than men because they're able to do OnlyFans. Okay, they're able to have beauty businesses that's all based off vanity. This society favors women. Okay, so y'all been over here living it up and shitting on men while men is barely scraping by. Most of them, they can't barely buy nothing. They can't barely buy houses. And they're the ones building everything and taking care of everything in this society. What do you think they're going to do when all hell breaks loose? They're going to come for y'all. They're going to go ballistic. All right, but I have this precept here, which I want to get, and then I'll give it to the next brother. This is Proverbs 20 and 23. Diverse weights are an abomination unto Yahweh, and a false balance is not good. And this is what this society is all about, diverse weights. It's not equal. It's not fair. It's not equitable. Okay? It's diverse weights and what? A false balance, okay? In the ancient world, you know, they would have a balance to like weigh things out, you know? So imagine you giving the person, you put in lead in your balance. So whatever little bit you put looks like it's way more, you know? And then the poor person, their balance is light as a feather. So the little bit that they got to stack that balance to try to like fill it up just to match what you're putting forth. Because again, if they're, like you said, a $300,000 mortgage, you're going to pay on a 50-year mortgage or depending on the interest rate, let's say a $400,000 mortgage, you're going to pay about $1.5 million, maybe 1.5 million in interest. You're going to be a slave to interest, bro. You could have bought 3 or 4 houses with that amount of money, but you slaving just to have this one place, just so I can say, well, I'm a homeowner, you know? So it's all vanity, man. And even after you pay it off, you're gonna still have to pay property taxes, man. And that's another form of rent. So we don't own anything in this society. See, and that's why the men that are in the right frame of mind, we want the kingdom. All right, we want the kingdom. We want dominion. You know, we want lands and kind. Fuck the little. Oh yeah, you know, you gave us a little bit and we're going to be okay with that. Nah, we want it all right, through the spirit and power, YAHAWASHI, and righteousness. All right. And the first thing we want is for the Lord's name to be praised, man. YAHAWASHI. All right. And with that, with the Lord getting his glory, all right, we know that there's going to be joint heirs that's going to be joined with them. That's also going to receive glory. Okay. But the Lord's name needs to be praised, and a righteous standard needs to be established in this earth, man, because as we read, it's all a false balance. That's an abomination to the Lord. The Lord despises this society because it cripples the poor, man. They devour the poor. That's why it says in the fullness of his sufficiency, he will be in straits. Okay. And they're in that point right now. That's why Trump was popping this shit. Oh yeah, you ATC guys, we don't need you. Y'all get the fuck out of here because we got a new system anyways. You know, the guys that was a bunch of loyal stooges that's probably going to go get the MOTB, yeah, give them a bonus. And that's how it's going to be. The ones that are loyal to the bullshit, that are good slaves to Esau, well, they're gonna get goodies. You're gonna see them with they're gonna have the charagma right up in them, and you're gonna see them rolling by and all these type of whips, and they're gonna be living like looking like they're living a good life. But those that don't, they're gonna have to suffer. But it's gonna be a short time period, and it's gonna be beyond worth. That's why the scripture says, it is not worthy to be compared with the glory that's going to be revealed in the men of YAHAWASHI that stays faithful, man. All right, so you can't look at all this bullshit around you and get caught up in it. All right, that's why the scripture says what? Love not the world, neither the things that are in it. For the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh, all these things is what? Of the world. Okay? So through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI, we got to detach from this place and despise this place and hate this place, man, because it is a wicked place, man. You got it, Akim.
Hey, Khan, that's the spirit. And that's why the scripture says that a gift destroyeth the heart, right? Because you got a lot of people who are going to be bribed to do things that is morally corrupt, really. And that's why really lately you've been seeing a lot of these articles about these people, especially the UK and different European countries, trying to do away with the Bible, right? Because the New World Order, the only thing that really could combat that shit is the Bible. Like, really, that's the only book that can actually have some form of some type of pushback against this decrepit society, right? Because they're building laws that's like it says in the book of Psalms that he created mischief by law, right? So in order to counter that, the Bible is the only book that has actual laws. That's, you got common law that comes from the Bible. You see what I'm saying? So everyone goes back to the Bible some way, somehow. So in order for them to do their shit, they got to do it with the Bible. And the whole point of bringing that up is you have this push against, doing the right thing, right? Morals and so on and so forth. So one way they're going to do it is by bribing people, give you a little bit here and there, hey, I'll give you this bonus, if you align with this plan, even though it goes against your principles, right? It's going to have people have the concept of selling out, right? Where you rather have money, whether it's corrupt or not, you rather have money than to have freedom, actual freedom, bro. You see what I'm saying? Liberty, like real things. You see what I'm saying? Things that men have fought for, died for, all these different things. Like you just gonna give it up because of some money, right? And the money is temporary. The money's not even real. It's all digital. It's not tangible. It's not like Trump ain't gonna give nobody that's serving him $2,000 or $10,000 worth of gold. Nah, you should request that though. You should be like, nah, I want it in gold, nigga. Like, don't give me no paper. Give me gold. Give me silver. Real shit. You know what I mean? But they ain't gonna stand for that because these people don't even understand the value of money. Okay, but when you go back into even the time of the Greeks, right? What did Antiochus do? He bribed niggas, man. You know what I'm saying? He said, look, Matthias, if you sell out, you're a leader. You know what I'm saying? You're a leader of your people. So by you doing what I'm telling you to do, bow down to me and accept what I'm saying, number one, it's going to have the people who follow you to be like, if our leader did it, then we could do it too, right? So that is a betrayal of yourself and your nation, okay? And then number two, I'm gonna bless you. I'm gonna have you sit right next to me. You're gonna begin the riches of my kingdom. So Trump is gonna play the same exact card, bro. That's what they do. All right. But I wanted to bring this thing out here because the scripture uses the analogy as for Esau as a serpent, right? That great serpent and so on and so forth, because of the nature, all right, of this devil. And Zaquan made an example of who's gonna pity a charmer when he is bit, right, by a serpent. You're gonna play around and get fucked up. Now you turn around and act like, oh, who's going to help me because I got bit? Nah, fuck out of here. You put your hands around there. You played around and found out, right? But that's what the American people are doing right now. They're playing around and they're finna find out, right? So I typed in, how does a python hunt? Okay, and a python is them big ass boa constrictors and shit, them big ass snakes that's like goddamn 20 feet long and big as fuck. Yeah, them motherfuckers that be swallowing deer and shit. You know what I'm saying? Not the regular snake that swallow a small little mouse or a rat. Now, you niggas swallow deer, bro, with the horns and antlers and all that, right? So it goes to show you something, right? It says pythons are ambush predators that rely on stealth and camouflage to capture their prey, okay? They remain motionless in concealed locations, such as near animal trails, water sources, or in dense vegetation. Okay, and what the first thing I thought about was, wait a minute, that's exactly what Esau is doing right now. He's setting up a trap where people going to need to be at, which is what? Your food, your jobs, traveling, all these health, right? These are things that people actually need in order to have a stable society. These are things you actually need. When you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I believe the first step is, food. You have necessity for food, water, and so on and so forth, shelter, right? The basic needs. And then once you get that, you move to the next tier, which is, relationships or marriage or, so on and so forth, companionship, right? Going from there, because now you got something you could feed yourselves. So now you can start building off of that. And then it goes on and on until you get to what is known as self-actualization, where you've pretty much gained everything. You don't need nothing else but just enjoy, right? So when society is knocked down to this tier where you're in a state of panic, uncertainty, instability, where you're worried about when is my next meal going to come in, or am I even safe being here, or is my house being broken in, or do I open my window just to make sure that they're not towing my car because I didn't pay my insurance, or whatever the case may be. That always being on edge and being anxious, that shit is not good for your health. You can never think about a rebellion or even think about the problems you're going through as in more to come when you're dealing with the shit that you're dealing with now. You got women who have kids around them, 7, 8 children, and you ain't got no food. You're wondering what's going to happen next, right? This is all part of the troubling times that the scriptures talk about. Okay, so it's also part of Esau's plan. He hides in trails, water sources, and dense vegetation, where you're going to be needing your food, your necessity, because you need to go there. You need the food, so you're going to go get the food. Then he's going to present you with that seed and say, if you want that food, here you go. All right. It says what? It says they use their keen sense of smell and heat-sensing pits along their jaws to detect the presence of warm-blooded animals, even in the dark or dense foliage. And how does Esau do that? Through technology. Okay, this whole concept of data collection, and that's all to what? To get more information on the people so they can weaponize that information against the people. Okay, when you're going to the doctors and the doctor is doing all these tests on you, it's not because they want to test to see if you're healthy or not. No, it's to see what's wrong with this person here, and what can I do to get them on some type of subscription based drug inducing medication, so to speak, right? Oh, this person it looks like you're healthy. Damn, you're healthy. All right, guess what? I'm gonna say that you have a high blood pressure. So now I'm gonna prescribe you some drugs to bring down the high blood pressure. Now all of a sudden you're addicted to these drugs, and now it causes another side effect that causes another side effect, and on and on and on and on. You notice a lot of people find out that they got cancer when they go to the doctor. All right, but before you go to the doctor, you're perfectly fine. Everything is good. You're doing what you got to do. But the moment you go see that damn devil, all right, he tells you, oh, sorry, you've been diagnosed with a tumor or cancer. All of a sudden, your whole life deteriorates from there. You see? So that's also part of the plans that they use, right? The medical and so on and so forth. It says once prey is detected, right? Once they find out they can get to you, the python strikes quickly, using its sharp backward curved teeth to grasp and hold the victim. So you're starting to see that those kind of things, those attributes being played out right now by Esau, okay, by the system. All right, when they cut off your food supply for 40 days plus, okay. Remember last year around the same time you had this whole longshoremen's whatever standoff that they had. Oh, we're not going to do this and we're not going to do that, and then eventually they came up with an agreement. Okay, cool. Same thing that's happening now, but this time on a larger scale. All right. So it says here, the snake then rapidly wraps its powerful body around the prey in a series of coils. So that's the coiling around. So it's like one thing at a time. The fly and the aviation problem. You got the food problem. You got the healthcare problem. You got the military problem. You got the foreign issues with the whole countries that are at war with America problem. There's a whole lot of shit going on at once. And who's it affecting the most? The American people, the victims. Okay. It says squeezing tightly with each exhalation of the prey to prevent breathing, right? Leading to suffocation rather than crushing. So they'll suffocate you. They cut off your air supply. Okay. So now it's like you're in the clutches of a python. You're not getting out unless there's outside intervention to strike that python, to shake it up, and then it's, oh shit, then it's gonna leave you. But at that point, it might be too late. For a lot of people, it's gonna be way too late. That squeeze of that system is gonna be way too late, man. Right? Where you're gonna have to succumb to go get that sea hip. It says the python can sense the prey's heartbeat and will continue constricting until it stops, confirming the prey is dead. Okay, so they're not stopping. Once they get you in the grip, the system is not going to stop just because you crying out loud or your cry is getting lower and lower. Like at first you start screaming, please, please. And then as he's pressing you, it's like, please, please. And then he's just going to stop because now your voice is low. Fuck out of here. He's stopping when there ain't no heartbeat. You see, the goal is to end it. So he stops when there's no heartbeat. Okay, there's no more reason for you to fight back. Like you're done. You give up. That's it. That's when he's going to be like, all right, now we got him. You see, now we got him. But you're starting to see the steps right now. Okay, because their bite is not venomous per se. It's debilitating in the sense of it weakens you. It's not going to kill you. It's just going to weaken you for them to come in and do the kill. That's it. Okay, it's like a lion putting their teeth around your jugular, right, holding you up over there. He's not crushing your throat or your trachea per se. He's just holding it so you can block off the air passages. And then the next thing you know, you just pass out. So that way it keeps the flesh that he's going to eat, it keeps it fresh. Okay, so he's not going to kill you outright. He's just going to make you pass out. And once you're done, then he's going to start tearing you up limb from limb. All right. So it says here, after killing the prey, the python begins to swallow it whole, usually head first, using its highly flexible jaws and muscular contractions to pull the prey down its throat. It says this process can take several hours to days, depending on the size of the meal. Okay, so this is a process that takes time. You see, the breakdown, all that shit, it takes time. So you could, was that 1 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter. All right, that's going to happen. It's going to happen suddenly. That's that bite. Okay, out of nowhere. Okay, you didn't see it coming, and next thing you know, you just in this cycle of being pressed every day. Where no matter where you go, everywhere you go, everyone is going the same way. And you turn around and be like, when did we get to this point? Why is it that when I'm going to just go get some gas, they're telling me this shit, right? If I'm trying to go to the bank, my whole money in my bank, they're telling me this shit, like I can get my own money. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm being, there's a police investigation going on just because I have a cell phone. I'm a suspected whatever. Like I wasn't even there. I didn't do this shit, but your phone was on during that time. They're using geofencing technology, so now we could just suspect you to be a criminal until the investigation is over, type shit. It's like everywhere you go, the system is pressing you. What, like, how do we get to this point, right? It says here, pythons are not active chasers. Instead, they conserve energy by waiting for prey to approach, making them efficient hunters. Okay, so Esau is using the same thing. He's very subtle. He's very conniving. You hide in the corners, right? You lay where he needs to be, right? And then once you come around, he strikes and he gets you. You see, that's why there's a problem. We are pretty much the watchmen that look at everything. We see where the python is at, right? Watching him. Okay, every step he takes, we watching him. That's why it tells you in the book of Proverbs that what a prudent man foreseeth the evil to come. Because nigga, if I see a snake, a python gliding and shit in the woods somewhere, I'm not an Edomite. Edomites want to always find shit out. I'm stopping, checking to see, right? If you're going to see me looking, I'm watching to see, all right, what's going on here? Strategizing. If I got to go a different route because I ain't got time for this shit, that's what I'm going to do. You see what I'm saying? But if I could face this head on, that's what I'm going to do. But Edomite is going, he's going to dabble. Oh, wow, what a python. Man, this is exotic. Go grab it and get fucked up. You see what I'm saying? That's Esau for you. All right. And that's what he's trying to train people to get in the habit of doing. Accepting things. Just, some way, somehow, somebody's going to come save you. So just hold on tight until this shit is over with. And by the time you realize it's over with, man, it's literally over with. All right. But I just wanted to bring that out, the nature of how pythons hunt and how Esau is using the same pretty much tactics, all right, and bringing down the system, which is the people within the system is his victims, his prey. All right. And the system is going to be used as a means to constrict, all right, people's way of living. All right. Ultimately to end up at you own nothing and you'll be happy. Pretty much you're dead. All right. But you got it, bros.
Hey, just to add on to that, and we can close it out. Speaking about Esau being able to hide, it made me, when you was talking, it made me think of that metaphor. When you cut the grass, the snakes will show. And it says it's a metaphor that means when you eliminate hidden things or deceptive situations, the truth and the people involved will be revealed. And that's what the truth is doing, right? That's what it says in 2 Ezra 6th chapter, that deceit shall be quenched, right? Or corruption, basically shall be gone away. And the truth, which has been so long with our fruit, will be declared. And that's ultimately because of the position that the Lord has put us in as the watchmen with this truth, right? We're able to cut down, right, Esau's ability to hide himself, his hidden, in his secret plots, right? I think it's scriptures speaks about in Job the 5th chapter that let me pull it up real quick. The Job chapter 5, verse 12, he disappointeth the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise, right? And a part of the way that the Lord is disappointing his devices is by revealing what his devices are, right? He's thinking he's doing these things in a secret, but yet you have these, men that are speaking, right? Speaking and revealing what he's doing, and we're revealing it, on the internet, right? The Lord told us these things in secret, but we're saying it on the rooftops, and that is becoming now a problematic for Esau because there's too many people that are now hip to his game, and it all started, with this gospel being pushed out. That's why you have, people who call themselves truthers, which really they were just set up for us. But Esau is trying to combat that with calling it misinformation and disinformation and all of those things, but that none of that worked because everything that we've been saying is being proven to be true. So he's no longer, that's why you don't no longer hear about fake news and misinformation and disinformation. Now he's about to just come with the, what, we just got to get rid of you. Y'all can't even have a platform to talk. We try to use deceptions and try to use the deception or the enchantment of saying what y'all saying is false, but nobody's believing that. And it's because we have too much evidence on you. You have too many things that actually are showing that you are these people that we have been saying it through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. Because once the wicked is revealed, right? Once you pull that mask off, you can't unsee that you are the bad guy. You can't unsee that you are the person that's been doing all of this, wickedness. Okay, right? They got to take away the lawnmower. That's right. And the lawnmower is what? This word being spoken out on the highways and byways. And that's why it says that there's going to be a famine of the word. It's the people that can cut the lawn. It's not like they're going to be gone. We just won't be cutting the lawn no more. But you still got the people that know how to cut the lawn. But that's why it says that the witch shall hide itself within his secret chambers. You're still a person, right? You're still a person. What do they call what do you call the lawn people? Guys, like it's escaping me. But the somebody help me out. Landscapers, that's right. You still have the landscapers that know how to do it, that know how to do it, but they're not going to be cutting the lawn no more because we've already cut it low enough for you to be able to see the serpent, be able to see this snake. And if you still want to go into his field, you still want to play in his garden, then if you get bit, then that's on you. But that's why it says he shall feed you them being idle with things offered unto idols, right? Because you're in this field, and when you had the opportunity to leave it, right, you were idle, you were lazy, you didn't want to because it was so all of your teats and all of your vintage and all of the things of this field that you wanted was there. You see, so you were too lazy to leave it during that time, and then when that time comes, you're going to be found to be trodden underfoot and had in derision. But one precept I wanted to get going back to something ICR said, and then that'll be it for me. Proverbs chapter 15, I think it was. Thought I had it up here. Proverbs 15, verse 27. It says, "He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live." All right. And the first part is the part that I wanted to harp on, because Esau, starting with Amalek, right, he is greedy of gain. And a king, right, it says that the multitude of the wise shall be the welfare of the people, right? You're a king, in the mindset is supposed to do what? It's supposed to serve the people, right? You're supposed to be able, just like how when King Solomon was on the scene, everybody eats, right? Everybody was able to enjoy, right? Speaking about those that are of the nation of Israel, they was able to enjoy the rulership of Solomon. It said that every man had, his own, was able to relax under his own tree, something to that effect, meaning that they had their land, they had their own property, they had their own, means to take care of themselves, because Solomon was generous, right? And that's how the Heavenly Father even set up the earth to be. That's why he says to be fruitful and multiply, right? That he does things, brothers, always speak about how the Lord does things in abundance. But when you got this devil in rulership, he's trying to, heap all, things into himself, right? He's trying to gather all the resources to himself. Ultimately, what are you going to do? You're going to trouble your own house, right? And that's why it says in Job that the hand of the wicked, which that word is Imal, the laborer, is going to come upon you, because you're the king is no greater than what the subjects thinks of him, and if you have all of your subjects that hate you, all of your subjects are mourning and got problems, and they don't trust you, then what's going to happen? You're going to have a revolt. You're going to have problems within your society, and it's because ultimately you are greedy of gain. You're troubling your own house. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn, and that mourning is going to turn to anger and frustration. And the point where, as it says in Second Esdras, that the power of the course of their actions is going to stand in their power, and Esau, right? These elites, they're preparing for that, right? That's why you have around the White House that fence that they never took down. They're preparing to have people revolt. I believe they said that there were certain of Trump's advisors that moved into military housing, right? They moved into military housing. Why are they doing that? Because they know that there's about to be a certain, time period situation, which they said they wanted by January, all 50 states to prepare for that, ready, quick action, National Guard preparation for civil unrest. And it's interesting that this shutdown extension, because it's not reopening, it's such shutdown extension, they say is supposed to only be extended to January 31st. So this is just really a band-aid on, a big ass shotgun hollow tip bullet. It ain't gonna do nothing, but they're doing this in preparation because they know when that time comes, you keep kicking the can down the road, but they know when that time comes, it's gonna be all hell is gonna break loose. So they're trying to, position themselves to not have to deal with that or be in the midst of it, and through the Spirit, we are also positioning ourselves, right, to not have to deal with that, and to be able to escape it. But we're doing it through what? This gospel, trusting in YAHAWASHI, doing the will of the Lord, so that we may be found worthy to escape these things that are coming. So if any brother got anything else, you can go, or we can just close it out now. All good. All right. So, with that, Lord willing, this is edifying unto the elect, giving our praises to Yahawah, Bahashim, YAHAWASHI, Bahashim, Rakak, Radash. Till next time, shalom to the elect.